Like you're running around.
Oh, you
That's a song.
Yeah.
Wolf and Bear, Catch and Release. Yeah, that's fucking screamo, all right. It's an
What's
excellent
up?
album. Have you heard of the Black Keys?
No.
What? The Black Keys is the truth. You probably have actually heard. You know what the sun's all about when the lights go out.
No, I don't know it. I mean, it sounds like Black Keys sounds like something I'd like. Erase my search history here. Jeez Louise.
What's a great
I don't
Black
want
Keys song?
anyone walking in and peering behind my shoulder and seeing what I got in this fucking search history.
Here we go. This is off of Attack and Release. How do I? I
Let's
gotta.
check that bad boy out.
I'll send it to you.
Attack and release. On attack and release.
I've been dancing with Beast, and I'm kind of a queef. Yeah, they're kind of dope.
Okay. I'm gonna play that up. I'll play that real quick.
Little Black Submarines is probably something you've heard too. But yeah, we're already recording BT dubs.
Oh, my bad.
Nah, you haven't said any kind
Oh
of
yeah,
racial
right up my alley.
slurs.
Kind of like what do you call it? Led Zeppelin-ish.
I don't know what that, man. They're more like
It's got that folky, twangy guitar and that
yeah.
soul white guy voice.
It's bluesy. It's bluesy, you know.
Yeah. Bluesy stuff. But so's Led Zeppelin.
Sort of. Eventually, they started that, but I mean, when they're talking about like, in the darkest days of Mordor,
In the darkest days of Mord.
got him in the evil one. Like
No,
just
it's still kind of like soul-y though.
yeah, uh, sort of.
Still got a little bit of that bluesiness to it. I mean, the subject matter isn't really bluesy, but the voice is.
Nah, I mean, that's what I just consider just like classic rock. Like the way they recorded this like dirty on purpose. Like when you hear "I Got Mine," it just they wanted it to sound like they were fucking screaming into a tin can.
And that it does. That it does, sir.
Yeah.
That's good shit. You know, I never know they made a song about The Hobbit or, Lord of the Rings until you told me.
Oh, the freaking Led Zeppelin. Yeah, just threw that in there. Golem and
I
the
just
evil
want-
one. How you gonna fucking put Sauron somehow into your relationship? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, I know. That's
He made it.
like you're
made it-
setting yourself up for failure. Hey, babe, what if Sauron comes over, and we got a little 3B going on?
No way. Well, back in the day, Sauron was probably a sexy dude. He was like Gandalf, except sexy.
Hey, babe, you ever have a flaming penis? Not in a bad way, or maybe in a bad way. I don't know.
It'd be a flame job.
One thing's for certain, that guy's sex is fire.
Where does it say that?
But I don't know, can you imagine, like, that giant eyeball just staring at you?
Yes?
Oh, yeah? You've fantasized about this before, haven't you?
No, man, I saw the movie. That's all that thing did was just pop up and freaking look at you like, ah!
No,
It was like-
I'm like imagining that's his face, like that's his actual eye.
Yeah, well, back in the day, it probably used to be inside of a head. But remember when he was a big dominatrix suit of armor?
Yeah.
You know, and the only
Kinda like
thing
a
he had
Cenobite.
the only thing he had that wasn't like black iron was fucking that ring, that fruity ring. He should have had more rings.
Yeah,
That would have been
the
better.
style doesn't really match up, right?
Yeah, well, I mean that you got to add that to his list of accomplishments. He's like a dark lord. You know, he's some kind of demon and also a jeweler,
Yeah.
a
But the
jewelry
thing is,
enthusiast.
does the ring go over or under the armor?
It goes over so that it can be conveniently cut from his finger. Well, back then, I think that was his body. Like that was he just inhabited the armor like a Nazgul.
Okay.
I
He's kind of
think.
like Ed from Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, like the well, except for with more of a somewhat substantial ghost, whereas Ed is just graffiti on the back of a neck. But this guy, he's more like a suit of armor filled with sentient farts.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know which one's worse. I think I'd rather just be some graffiti.
Well, it's they both have similar fucking weakness, man. I mean, you scratch up that graffiti, it's done. If you cut off his fancy pants ring, then also Sauron's done.
Yeah. Look at that. Full Metal Alchemist for the win.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, the only way he really gets rocked is if he kind of makes the mistake of using his armor to shield or to like hold somebody inside of it, and they have easy access to his little seal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that I believe that happened once or twice.
It did happen. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, that's the only way you can die right now.
Well, short answer is because he's a child.
Yes,
Trapped
he
in
is
it.
like 12 years old, right?
Yeah. Him and that's also how he got into the fucking armor in the first place, was being a child.
Being a very sad child.
Yeah. We
That anime's
figured it
so good,
out.
but it's like so dark.
We figured it out. We can bring mom back with necromancy. All we have to
No, not
do
necromancy.
all we have to do is the math. We did the math
Yeah,
right.
right. Like no one's ever figured that out before.
Yeah. We've got this.
They're just missing one key ingredient, the one that we have. And then they brought back like this fucking mongoloid creature. It was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Wasn't it just like a big bucket of slop that came out and ate their arm and soul and entire being?
I mean, it was a bucket of slop, but it had like human features.
Yeah.
It had like a rib cage and like a human face. And it was all backwards, and it was clearly a woman. It could have been their mom, which is actually even worse. That makes it even worse.
Yeah, what if they actually did succeed and that's the last thing she remembers is one of her kids dying and the other one is completely dismembered.
Yeah, and they brought her back inside out. She might not even been aware of it.
It's like
It was like
I was just in paradise. Now I'm in pain. Why you
Yeah, I know
fucking
exactly.
around?
They were fucking around.
Yeah. Now
You're
I'm
always playing around.
I'm never gonna have that. I'm always gonna have that in my head now.
It's kind of a catchy tune, I'm not gonna lie.
They call me Catch E Tune.
But it's also very, very whiny. Stop playing around. Stop fucking around.
Yeah, it's all
Like this
right. I
song
mean,
could have easily been more about his older brother fucking playing tricks on him or something.
well, that's the kind of shit that like Josh likes to listen to.
Yeah.
Uh, not all always. Like a lot of it's just like metal, but where they have like the, you know, like how much
Okay.
it stained on the pants. Like, like to me, it's like, you know, in the old metal when they did it, it was just like more like a natural sort of guttural scream. But when they affectate that that monster scream, they're basically just pretending to be
There's a reason.
monsters.
Yeah. There was a reason for it,
Well,
like an emotional reason.
they all have the same voice. It's like, you know, all right, I'm gonna scream this because that's part of the genre.
Yeah.
But it really just sounds like a little kid pretending to be a monster.
Roar, 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 roar. I'm gonna get you. Rah. We should start a black metal band. Arr, we could call them
What do we call them? The Eye of Sauron?
monsters.
No, we call the bunghole of Sauron.
Oh no! You thought the penis was fire.
Or no, a threesome with Sauron. We could be a three-piece band.
I like that one. Yeah, bringing it back. Bringing it back.
A threesome with Sauron. It'll be like, so is that a Lord of the Rings reference? Oddly enough, it's a Led Zeppelin reference.
You can call it a Sornage et toi.
Sauron toi.
Yeah.
He definitely fucking had threesomes.
He probably had harems. Like not a threesome, but just like a whole entire palace of women devoted to like his pleasure whenever he wanted it.
Well, I mean, he wasn't exactly. I don't even know if you could say he was really into that.
I don't think so. I think he
Because
was more focused on destroying the world or recreating the world in his image.
taking it over.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, that's the only reason why he was.
What's up?
He was an immortal spirit, like all those, like Gandalf. You
They're
know,
all like gods, right? Pretty much.
more like angels, like immortal angels. We'd view them as gods by like our modern standard, but even in Sauron's world, he was not trying to fuck with the Christian status quo of the time. There is only one God, and his prophet is Muhammad. You know, he was
I think that the one true god is Loki.
Loki.
Yeah, I think he's got everybody fooled for
Oh, yeah.
years.
Oh yeah, I
think he's
remember that
succeeded.
now. I remember the Loki. What is
Yo,
it?
apparently this is like real life. Like
The Loki deep dive.
historians have like theorized on this.
That Loki's a real guy.
No, that Loki is the Christian god.
Oh, maybe. I mean, to be fair, the Christian God sort of predates all that shit by a few thousand years, I think.
Really?
Yeah. Here's a
Viking
picture of.
mythos?
Yeah. Well, because you know, I mean, he's also the same god from the Hebrew mythology as well. You know.
Oh yeah, I always thought that
And even before
what do
then,
they
he
call
was
Viking mythology?
Norse mythology.
Yeah, I always thought that Norse mythology was older than Christianity.
Viking is actually a verb. It means to go raiding. To go a Viking.
Yeah, and I also learned that it wasn't like a people; it was more like a job.
Yeah, it was yeah, that was a professional, you know, I'm a raider.
Mm-hmm.
It was going hiking but with more murder and non-consensual sex.
Yeah, like you could have a Norse town that had Vikings in it, but not all the people in that town are Vikings.
Yeah, I mean most people probably wouldn't have been.
Mm-hmm. Which I just recently learned that, which was kind of a cool knowledge dump. And Embarrassingly enough, I think I learned it on TikTok.
Well, I learned it a bunch of times, and I always forget it because I always talk about like the Vikings as a people, because
Yeah, that's what I always
essentially
thought.
they were for a while they were probably the only foreign policy that the Norse countries had. I mean, yeah, a lot of them were traders and stuff like that. Like they go out and trade because they had boats. But you know, if you want to talk about how fast word travels, burn a fucking church down and see what the fuck, how famous you get.
Yeah, I now I kind of figure them more like a almost like a navy
Yeah,
presence, except a navy that will like and pillage and like burn your shit down,
yeah. We
take
can't we can't
take your
use the R
women.
word. We can't use the R word. But yeah,
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
yeah, that and seppuku. Committing seppuku.
Oh, you can't use that word?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's part of the YouTube algorithm.
my bad. My bad.
Nah, it's all right.
I guess we can like clap here so you see the spike and it's just like edit that part out. You want to make a note of the time where I said that?
Yeah, yeah. 1915. We'll say I'll check around that time. All right. But yeah. But the Norse peoples that's just what they was normal. It's any kind of inhuman behavior is always kind of supported by the gods, and they kind of glorified their warriors and such.
Yeah.
Like the Crusaders. Well, even just in the Bible itself, man. Like immediately when the Israelites got to the Holy Land and discovered someone already lived there, it was like, God, what do we do? I think you got to kill them.
It's true. It's true.
They
With the
aren't.
jawbone of an ass.
Yeah, beat them with the jawbone of an ass. And I want you to take this this box that's filled with the 10 commandments, one of which is not to kill, and then I'll kill them.
I mean, the Bible is kind of like littered with a bunch of contradictions,
Yeah.
but that's because there's like, hundreds of years of people kind of reformatting it to meet their needs
Yeah,
and to
exactly.
fit the
That
sentiment of the time that they're in.
yeah, it's using the power of God. Right? You're trying to I mean, that's God is a tool. Like I'm an atheist. Some people believe in God. I just don't. I think that if God was real, it would be ridiculous to try and understand something like that unless it actually personally spoke to you. And just trusting the word of some dudes that I never met, knowing full well what kind of assholes humans are.
Yeah.
It's like I gave up. I was like, I'll be an atheist. If God shows up, He can set me right. That's it.
Yeah, I
Supposed to.
mean, someone was talking about like his mother was like really religious or whatever, and she's like she truly believes that he's going to hell. And he's like, but if you're going to heaven and there's no suffering and there's no pain in heaven, how could you be in heaven not suffering, knowing that your son is in hell suffering for eternity? Like at that point, like, are you missing parts of you that make you human and care about people or remember them? And at that point, are you even my mother anymore? Like, what are you that you don't care that your son or like, anybody that you cared about is not there with you, and you know for a fact that they're like being torn apart in hell for eternity?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And at that point, if you do give a shit, doesn't heaven become hell?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much it does.
You keep like realizing like, where's my son? And God's like, don't worry, I'll make you forget. Where's my
That's
son?
so dystopian.
Yeah, it's like the Matrix. You're constantly waking up from the Matrix, and they're just like, go back to sleep, child. Pay no attention to all these H.R. Geiger-esque robots around you.
And the thing is, all of that is unknowable. Like, there's people that are so certain that, all right, there's a heaven. And they're so certain of what's in there and, like, what's going to happen. Like, okay, like, what if there is a heaven? You have no clue what's going on over there. Like, it might not be what you think it is, right? Because you have no clue what it is. You're just assuming off of some book that some crazy dude wrote a while ago. Like, what
Yeah.
if,
Well, also
heaven,
it's something that your parents believed in usually, right? It's like,
yeah,
Ricky Gervais has a great fucking bit where he's like, isn't it convenient that everyone is born into the right religion? Like most people are just born into the right religion.
yeah,
Isn't that a little too convenient? That's nice, I guess. That's
yeah,
how
that's
that
great.
works. He's
He
always
also had a joke where he was talking about how, like, I'm an atheist and people like hound me about it. But the thing is I only don't care about one more God that you don't. Because there are hundreds of gods that you don't believe in.
yeah.
I just don't believe in one more.
That's I got into a big half drunk discussion. Now it's half drunk because I wasn't drunk, but the people I was talking to were a little drunk, and one of them
Yeah.
was from Florida. Right, so we were just talking about like, he's like, how could you be an atheist? And I'm like, well, because God isn't real.
It's easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of figured, like, if God is real, how would I even know? I'm suspicious of anything involving people. And since there's so many religions, like why aren't you Hindu? Why don't you think? He's like, oh, they think cows are sacred because cows give milk. He's
You
like,
have a reason for
I was
believing
like,
that.
you think crackers are sacred? You were born Catholic. You think crackers are sacred. You pray on beads and light candles for statues and perform magic spells. You got a book. There's incense. Your priest is gonna go, Omni Patris et Filii Spiritus Sancti. That's all fucking magic. I believe in
Yeah,
magic.
pretty
If I'm gonna
much.
believe in magic, I'll believe in Gandalf or Dumbledore.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I think that just the existence of Scientology and other religions like that turned me off of religion. Because it's like, dude, it's that easy to make a religion? Come on. You're telling me they didn't do this hundreds of years ago? No way.
Exactly. It's like somebody had the formula. We have like videos of this guy clearly not being just clearly being a human, and supposedly that's how he passed away. Was he like just got to the next level? He left his body behind. There's like a video of the current head of Scientology
Yeah.
bitching about that. Well, not bitching about it, just claiming that as he took the reins, and yeah, he achieved the next level, and he left behind some other books. And that's the thing, is they keep finding new material because that's part of Scientology, is you got to buy the books.
Yeah.
Right? That's how they make money. Is like, this is your books. You have to pay for counseling, for somebody to constantly help you, and it's going to cost you about $250,000 to go
Yeah,
clear.
that's Christianity.
I mean, at least it's
They do
only
the
like
same thing in a different way.
$2 in a week, or 10% of your income with
They walk
Christianity.
around with that tray. Everyone hands in the money. They're like, oh, the church needs help. Really, the pastor needs a new fucking Corvette or something.
Now they got to pay for legal fees for what the old pastor did.
Yeah, right. Jesus Christ. But my thing is, like, all right, let's say there is a God, right? And I can't believe that he's even remotely worried about human suffering in any way. Because if he did, and he's omniscient and omnipresent and all these things, he knows everything that's going to happen. If he's still letting it happen, it's because he doesn't give a shit about that part. Like, maybe he cares about you, but not that part, because he would have just not allowed it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like that was my ultimate thing. It was like, listen, if that God is real and all of this is on purpose, I'm fighting him. Right? He better not be real. He better not. So we're gonna have problems. See God catch a uppercut.
Yeah, so like the whole Loki God thing kind of is making more sense to me.
The Christ Loki. But yeah, that would. I mean, that would be absolutely perfect if.
That would be great. But I mean, I have to preface that with saying, like, I don't believe in giant magical people that live in the sky.
Nor I. I mean, here's the thing. Like I've always said, right? So there already exists something that acts like a god. It's called the universe, right? It was maybe not there before and created after a certain amount of time, but at one time, everything that exists now was one thing, and then it exploded and became everything. So it's
Yeah.
and it will never actually be destroyed. So it's immortal. So that's 3 out of the 4 requirements that I've laid down for a deity, is that it's all omnipresent. It's everywhere,
Yeah.
right? It's immortal, everlasting, cannot be destroyed, and it's
Yeah, the worst thing
literally a
that could happen to it is that you put it to sleep. And that's entropy, right?
yeah, literally it was everything was part of one thing. So everything is part of it. So you add consciousness to that, and boom, you got yourself a god, which
Yeah.
might be even true, right? If the universe had a consciousness or something, it seems to have behavior, but whatever that behavior is, I refuse to believe that cavemen were in contact with it, and that we, with our technology, are not.
Yeah.
Like, if God wanted to say something, he could show up whenever the hell he wants. He's like, all right, you guys have satellite technology now? That's great. This is a lot easier. I want to clarify some things, okay? I don't give a shit what day you think is Saturday. You know, I don't give a crap what the hell you eat. You can stop wearing the hats, you know? Everybody, you seem to think, place some kind of significance on hats. I don't know where the fuck you got that. You know, I am the universe. Do you think I wear a fucking hat?
What about this? What if I feel like if there's this presence that has all these powers that everyone talks about or whatever, it's probably sort of in another, like, an extra dimensional being, right? In which case there's no way that we could possibly fathom it or interact with it. It could observe us. It might be able to interact with us, but I don't think it goes the other way around. It's kind of like when you're playing Super Mario, you can interact with Super Mario, but he can't interact with you. He can't even perceive you.
Yeah, nothing you do would make sense to Mario either, right? I've never seen him take a crap in the games, right? You know, can he even smell in the games? It doesn't appear to be. I mean, dinosaurs probably smell like absolute garbage. You know, if he's got a nose, I guess.
So if that's the case, if there is a God, that's how I would think about it. It's like this thing probably is aware of us, but we can never be aware of it. We can never interact with it.
Yeah, it'd be like you trying to communicate with one of your atoms.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's
Right.
like I know it exists. I can see its interactions, but it's not interacting with me. I mean, it is, but not in like any meaningful. Well, in a very meaningful way, but not in a philosophical way.
Yeah, not that's the other thing is it's we have this habit of like personifying things. We like have personified the universe to think that it'll behave like a human. Why would that make sense at all? Like literally, like I played Binding of Isaac on stream a little while ago, and
Yep.
it's basically a retelling of that story, The Binding of Isaac from the Bible.
Okay.
So right, Isaac's mom she's very religious, and she starts hearing like God's voice, that she should punish Isaac because
Oh.
he's wicked, he has wickedness in him, and she should take away all his toys and make sure he stays in his room, and then finally that she should kill Isaac. And then Isaac like heard this and he escaped into the basement, and that's basically the game, is you as a little baby running around the basement and fighting enemies with your tears.
Isn't it like you're fighting all your other mother's abortions though?
Yes, that is heavily implied, that all those things down there are your brothers and sisters, because they all sort of, a lot of the enemies look like him. Some of them are just bugs and stuff, but a lot of the enemies look like
Bugs that
Isaac.
would be feeding off of their dead bodies in the basement.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also just, a basement anyway, so you're going to get some of that. But, yeah, he's fighting spiders and flies and fucking
Maggots.
mutants. Yeah, maggots, mutants. There's worms and shit.
Cool story. I just haven't had like a controller, and I don't like to play games that are like about reflexes with my just my keyboard.
Well, I played it on the keyboard and I beat it. Surprisingly. Like fourth try,
Man.
I think. It was my fourth run through, and I actually did it. I beat it. I was very surprised.
Like I got an Xbox controller to play Witcher with on my computer, but then I started getting this weird like drift thing where he would just walk no matter what, even if I wasn't touching the controller. And it was so annoying, so then I just threw the controller at the wall. And then I never got another one.
That's Microsoft for you.
Yeah. But I might be investing in another gamepad, because there are just games that are just more enjoyable with a gamepad.
Well, for me, it's very helpful to not have to like lean forward towards the computer. I can just like sit back on the recliner. I've got this wonderful mic stand now, which now when we do the podcast, people will probably be able to hear me.
We need to do like an in-person podcast.
Yeah, man, we definitely do. I wanna get in touch with Andrew of the Drew Torres Trio
Okay.
and get some music made. Like I had a very political song that I want made, and
Okay.
he seemed very interested in recording some of that,
Awesome.
and also like getting some music for the channel. 'Cause he's a very talented guitar guy, even back in middle school when we used to hang out with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I was in music class with him, and he like knew all this shit. I was like, what the fuck? I'm over here playing a recorder.
Yeah, well, his dad used to play a lot of music. So he like, I remember I used to go over his house, and sometimes his dad would just be smacking on the conga or something like that. And so very musical family, and very talented guy.
For sure, I agree.
But he's I'll send you a song.
You sent it?
No, I'll send you it. Let me see.
Who's this looking character?
What? You went all robot on me.
Can you hear me now?
I heareth you. What'd you say about Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
No. You have a picture in the chat of like Eminem mixed with Legolas.
That's a depiction of classic Sauron back when he was kind of sexy. That's
Okay.
somebody's cosplay of Sauron. Although he probably had long
Sexy
hair.
Sauron.
Yeah,
And it was probably black hair too, right?
yeah. I mean, Tolkien. No, I think he might have been blonde. But
Okay.
Tolkien, like that was all of his villainry. Because what really inspired his writing was World War One, which was at the cost of industrialization. That was what that was fought over. Really was securing where are you going to get your oil, huh? But and when he came back, like the village that he grew up in, like it was very industrialized. It wasn't the same place anymore,
Yeah.
and he hated that. So like that's what like Morgoth. He's like the god of fire. He's the Valar of fire, and then Sauron, his lieutenant, and also what's his name, Saruman, were both Maiar who served him. So they were both like they're artificers. They're
Hmm.
well actually was Saruman some of Aule, the Earth god or whatever.
Aule?
One of them, yeah, Aule was the Valor of Earth. He created the dwarves against God's will, and then God was like, I should punish you, but instead I'm gonna make dwarves. It's gonna happen. That was a good idea. Good call. But yeah, he
Balance everything out.
well that was the thing. Is like they can't come before men and elves, bro. I mean, I told you what the schedule is. Goes elves and then men, and then question mark. Cause like
And orcs and trolls, Baylors.
no, he didn't make any of those. Balrogs.
No.
Baylors are the Dungeons and Dragons version.
Oh damn. Balrogs.
Yeah. Like it's even a meme.
Let's see.
Yeah, Iru Iluvatar.
Elevator. I'll allow it.
I'll allow it. It's fine. Whatever. It's a good idea. I'm not mad at you. Just wish you would have ran it by me first.
Come on,
Meanwhile-
bro, with these things you're making.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
There's a better one. But hold on. Because that was
Oh my god.
because he did it in secret. He knew he wasn't supposed to do it. It was in the Silmarillion.
Okay.
But here's
I
a
actually
good
never
one.
read. That's the one I haven't read.
You really don't have to. It's more like a lore book. I mean, yeah, there's some stories in there, but the way it's written it's almost like he didn't really finish it. There's like no real dialogue. It's more like
That's great.
spoken like
Straight up lore.
it's
Straight up
more like
world building.
yeah, like a myth. Really, it's more like spoken like a myth or a saga or something.
All right, that's cool.
Do you know how the
Oh,
dwarves?
speaking of Lord of the Rings, have you heard about this new TV show on what was it, Hulu or something, or Amazon?
Yeah. All of the nerds are all in a buzz and up in arms against it. Like,
I mean, I think I hear that there's sort of it's not really Lord of the Rings. It's really like inspired by Lord of the Rings kind of thing.
yeah, it is most definitely that, and it was always that, right? It was never gonna be a one-for-one adaptation, and they're just acting like it should have been. Like we deserve to have a one-for-one adaptation of
We
literally
do kind of.
unfinished
Movies.
tales, right? Like, cause that's it. Tolkien didn't write anymore, right?
Yeah.
Right? They kind of have to make up stuff to even make this real. Now, to be fair, it does kind of look like it's going to be a little bit ass.
Well, Well, I
right?
think what most people are scared of is that it's going to go through this trend of like super feminist, like super
Yeah.
inclusive, LGBTQ. Um, it's got to have, what's that thing where they have to have one of every race,
The
like
message, yeah, it's inclusivity and representation
inclusivity. Yeah, there you go,
in
representation.
a fancy realm, which I'm fine with just casting whoever, right? I mean, if you're doing it on purpose, just to like, we're gonna make sure we have X amount of this
That's
color
the thing.
people and X
When
amount
you
of
do
this color
that,
people.
it kind of like creates the situation where you're kind of just pandering. Like,
Yes,
excuse me.
it's hollow. It becomes hollow, right? It's no longer like an artistic endeavor. It's more like a product. We're just going. They're going for mass appeal, which is fine, I guess. But at the same time, it usually takes away from it. I'd be more like, whoever's the
I
best
think
actor, like just get that person, because it does suck that like, the only thing, if you're a brown person, the only thing you can be in fucking a Tolkien adaptation is a
it's
monster.
common.
Right?
Um,
It's like, yes,
I think
I
the
mean,
problem though is that they're kind of trying to pander to demographics that don't really pay that much attention to the product that they're trying to sell.
sort of, yeah. I mean, they
Like,
they
I'm
are.
not saying that gay people don't read Lord of the Rings or aren't into fantasy, but a smaller portion of that demographic, and that's an already small demographic, pay attention to it than, say, the people like me and you.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is they where they should have had a light touch, you know, like just cast a few people here or there. I mean maybe you can just do like an entire race of elves because this is like during the Second Age. There are all sorts of elves that we've never even encountered. So whatever, that's fine. Just do that. Like the high elves are the ones that went to heaven and became blonde. Like Legolas, I guess he's also blonde. He's a wood elf, but there could be elves in the east that are different colors because all the men in the east are darker than the men in the west, and
Yeah.
that's where everyone came from. But
Hmm.
like the elves were born around some lake, and supposedly so were the men as well. And as they moved east through who knows how many millennia, they slowly became white, which is
But also, like, it's weird because I don't feel like well, this is totally like headcanon, right? This is not based in any sort of lore from Lord of the Rings or anything. But in
Mhm.
my head, I think the fact that elves are so long-lived and men are so like short-lived that like the rules of evolution would work different for them. Like elves would probably change way less in the same, or probably not at all, in the same amount of time that it would take a human to change, and evolve and adapt to different things. Like elves are probably terrible at like adaptation, like genetically.
Possibly. To be fair, I mean they do die. They are
They
born.
die, but for evolution to happen, like it takes like hundreds, thousands of years for someone's hair to change to adapt, or their
Yeah,
height to change to adapt to certain climates and terrain. Which that
unless
just wouldn't happen with elves because like one
it
elf
would.
lives for thousands of years.
It would, but it wouldn't happen, quote unquote, with just uh, evolution. Because we're talking about a world where God is in fact real and in fact involved. Like the
Yeah.
hobbits came out of nowhere, right? They didn't even exist in the first
They didn't
stage.
evolve. They were just made to suit where they live.
Maybe they did evolve. Like it's maybe implied that they did. They were sort of a secret that Eru Iluvatar put there, so that they can eventually destroy the ring. He created a solution to that problem, and that was why Gandalf was obsessed with them, right? Like Gandalf was just as soon as he discovered that hobbits were a thing, he was like, "What the? When? I remember in the beginning of time the schedule. It was elves, then men, and then somebody got a little favoritism there, And then there were dwarves. When the
What the
fuck would
fuck did these
these
guys?
things come happen? Are they evil? They don't appear to be. Look at them. They're kind of happy. They farm. They're out in the sunlight. Orcs don't do that. And he became very obsessed with them because he kind of knew that this was like a trick. He's like, this is a
Yeah.
trick. This is a sneaky trick. This has got to be something significant, you know. And that's why he was always hanging out in the freaking Shire when nobody gave a rat's ass. Like the elves didn't seem to really care. It's like, huh, oh, that's interesting. I guess they're sort of like men, eh? And that's
Those
how
weird
the
little people
yeah,
with
that's
hairy
the
feet.
that's the only you know hint to their origin is that they are someone implied that they might be distantly related to men, even though they have
Okay.
pointy ears and hairy feet and behave completely different. They're just short
Yeah.
lived and they're not immortal, so I guess they're related to you guys, huh, man?
But they're not really short-lived, are they? Oh yeah, the only reason Bilbo lived is because of the ring, right?
Well, yeah, I mean they can still live that long. Like they do regularly live to 100, but he lived to like
Okay.
111. Actually, no, that was his 111th birthday, which makes him
He
like
was,
an old hobbit, like one of the oldest
but he
hobbits that
still
ever lived
wasn't
at the
dead.
time. Yeah, well, so after that, I mean, he left like 20 years or 30 years after that. So yeah, he that was because of the ring.
Okay.
So yeah, he would
Yeah,
never
that
have
could
died.
probably the ring could probably add like another 100 years to his lifespan, right?
No, I mean he would have never died. That's why he went to the Undying Lands because he would eventually
Oh.
become Golem or a ring wraith.
Oh shit.
Like Frodo probably would have became something like a ring wraith, whereas he was already sort of turning into a golem.
Golem. Yeah.
He's becoming a Schmeagle. I once was Schmeagle and now I'm Golem.
Damn. That's a horrid fate.
Yeah, so
I'd
that's
be
why.
like, listen, guys, if I turn into a Schmeagle, just, you know, open up my head casing, scoop out my brain, so that way my brain and body are separate, and hopefully, I guess you can't really escape thoughts. So you're still part of your brain, right? Damn it. Blend my brain up into little chunks so that the neurons can't fire. You think there's some sort of magical intervention that can happen there?
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Is like, what if that doesn't work? Right? Would you risk it? Like, light me on fire. I'm out of here. And then if you still were a ghost, yeah, you'd still probably be a ghost. Is what would happen. Because
Yeah,
all the ring wraiths died.
yeah,
They didn't have
you're right.
bodies anymore. They were just
Just be a
dust.
ghost.
Yeah, they were sentient farts essentially.
And I don't even know how sentient they are. Like, they're probably just automatons that listen to the word of fucking Sauron. They
Nah,
don't have any.
they were pretty sentient. They were actually pretty sentient.
Oh, you know what? I'm remembering that game, the War,
Shadow
the
of
one where
War.
you. Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, I mean they couldn't really resist his will, but he for the most part, I mean, most of them were volunteers anyway. Right.
Yeah,
So
but if you're just like not yourself anymore, and you're just like, and you're just
they
living in a
weren't
state of paranoia
to,
for eternity.
well, no, that's the thing. Well, Golem is different. So Golem, was slowly losing pieces of himself to the ring. But it took so long because he's a hobbit, like they have a resistance to that. Which is why they were ideal for destroying the ring. They were
Yeah.
the only ones who could have resisted that ring's power. And they were very probably created for that purpose. But with men though, the way they kind of viewed it was they're immortal, they're powerful, and one day they're gonna rule the earth, right? Like Sauron can't even be riding out here. Like they get to come out here. I mean, they're not exactly getting bitches, but they get to like kick orcs around and eventually, pee on people. They get to be friends with horses and fell beasts.
And the dark things that stink and fucking.
And drums in the deep.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah, no,
He needs one.
yeah. So some of them probably didn't like it, but I mean, they're not going to say anything because Sauron like literally lives probably in their head. They just can't.
Yeah.
They can't shake him. But like the Witch
Yeah, it's
King
like what kind
freaking
of
loved it.
fulfillment do you get? Yeah, I guess if you're into that shit, like that's the best move for you.
Yeah, there was another guy like one of the Easterlanders. He was also into it. He might have been one of Sauron's first converts. Because remember, a lot of what Sauron did was in the lands to the east. Also,
Hmm.
Saruman, before he took up residence in Isengard, he traveled in the east.
Well, the East is it's a big place for those guys.
Well, most of the world is to the east, I think.
Wouldn't
The
half of the world be to the east and the other half to the west?
well, actually, no. So most of the world is ocean, and then you have the Undying Lands. But the Undying Lands, even on the maps, they don't seem that big. And then if you see like the unfinished guest map, that fans have made, but I guess maybe it's not real, or maybe it was made by Chris Tolkien. I don't know. Like, there's a
Hmm.
huge amount of land where men just live. Like, the elves supposedly don't live there anymore, and there's just like men there, and that's where men were born, and a lot of them were supposedly like born under the shadow of Morgoth.
Ah.